What were they thinking? What were they thinking? Let me draw a word picture for you. We have the land of Israel, occupied by a foreign government whose base is 500 miles to the north, with a cruel king who employs underlings and satraps all over the land of Israel, who employs tens of thousands of soldiers, well armed, well trained, and well organized. And they occupy the whole land. These soldiers, this army, not only occupies the land, it conquers the holiest place for the Jews, the Beit HaMikdash. The Beit HaMikdash, the temple, the holy temple in Jerusalem. They defile the temple. They use the various parts of the temple for their own worship, so much so that you have a combination of Jewish worship and Greek idol worship side by side. Not only that, the Greek culture that had spread earlier under Alexander the Great now has penetrated into the depths of the land of Israel and into the depths of the Jewish people who live there. And so what we have in the land of Israel at this time are schools that are teaching Greek philosophy, Greek literature, theaters that are producing Greek plays, amphitheaters, sports places that are having all kinds of Greek sports played in them, not only by Greek occupying soldiers, but also by the Jews who live there. And so we have this tremendous anomaly of a dual people. We have those that we call the Hellenists, the Misyavnim, those who accepted the Greek culture and the Greek way of life and thought it was terrific, it was wonderful, it's human, it's humanistic, it's wise. We have Greek mathematics and Greek science and Greek sports and Greek theater and Greek literature, it's wonderful. And then you had another group, Torah true, religious Jews, who did not change from the ways that their fathers and mothers had taught them. And so we have two groups of Jewish people living side by side in the land of Israel, and this tremendous occupying force of Greek Syrians. And then, 13 men decide that they are going to revolt against all of this. And that's my question. What were they thinking? How can 13 men overcome the tens of thousands of Greek soldiers and all of the Greek culture that had permeated the land of Israel at that time? How could they do it? Would we think for a moment that 13 people could do such a thing? Crazy. Some of us would say it was a suicide mission, God forbid. But it wasn't a suicide mission. What were they thinking? They had one thought. Really only one thought. And I want to share that thought with you. These people, these 13 people, lived with something that is unimaginable to us, to all of us in this room, and probably to all of us living in this generation. They had such certitude. They were so absolutely sure of their cause that they knew that they could not fail. Why? They were going to fight the fight for God. They were going to fight the fight for the Torah. They had such unbelievable emunah, and such unbelievable faith and certainty that God was on their side, that it didn't matter that they were only 13 and that they were untrained and unarmed, and that you had tens of thousands of Greek soldiers who were trained and armed and organized against them. Didn't matter. This is what we call, in our terminology, bitachon. Surety, security, certainty that God is with us, and God will be always with us. They had a tool. This is something that the Hasidic masters have taught us. There was one tool that they had. It was an amazing tool, and we have it too, but we have to open it up for ourselves. They had Tehillim, they had the Psalms, and in particular, one psalm, one chapter of Tehillim, which they said over and over and over as they went into battle. They had a tradition that they were not the first. Their tradition was that King David, hundreds of years earlier, when he went into battle against the nations who were then occupying the land of Israel, and when he defeated them, he said this too, and he wrote this chapter of Tehillim in order to go into battle. I want to share this chapter of Tehillim with you. It is 91, Tzadik Aleph. We actually say this every Shabbos in our early morning prayers. I'm just going to read it in English, and you'll get the flavor of it. And this is what the Hashmonaim, these 13 men who began this revolt against the Greeks, this is what they went, this was the tool with which they went into battle. Whoever sits, it's talking about people, about Jews, whoever sits in the refuge of the Most High, he shall dwell in the shadow of the Almighty. And I will say of Hashem, this is us Jews speaking about Hashem, He is my refuge and my fortress. He is my God, and I will trust in Him. I will trust that He will deliver from all the ensnaring traps, from devastating pestilence. With His wings, He will cover you, and beneath His wings you will be protected. His truth is our shield and our armor. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by the day. You shall not fear the pestilence that walks in gloom, nor the destroyer who lays waste at noon. As for your enemies, 1,000 will fall at your side, and 1,000,000 will fall at your right hand. But to you, they shall never come close, they shall never approach. You will merely peer with your eyes, and you will see the retribution of the wicked. Why? Because you have said, Hashem is my refuge. Because of that, you have made the Most High your dwelling place, and therefore no evil will befall you, nor will any plague come near your tent. He will charge His angels to protect you in all of your ways. They, His angels and His messengers, will carry you on their palms, lest you strike your foot against a stone. You will tread upon the lion and the viper. You will trample the young lion and the serpent. For he, this is a person, for he who has yearned for me, says Hashem, I will deliver him. I will elevate him because he knows my name. He, the man, the person, he will call upon me, and I will answer him. For I am with him in his distress, and I will release him, and even more, I will honor him. This is what Hashem says about the man who trusts in Hashem. And therefore, I will satisfy him with long life and show him my salvation. This was the tool that was used by these 13 men who went up and started the revolution against the Greek Syrians. And as we know from the Hanukkah story, were victorious. They routed the Greek Syrians. They were able to retake the temple. And of course, as everyone here knows, they were able to find the jug of oil and have it lit. It was only one jug, which should have lasted for 1 day. It lasted for 8 days. And subsequently, the great leaders of that time established for us and initiated and instituted the holiday of Hanukkah. And so on Hanukkah, what do? We remember the lights. We light the candles, the oil. We light it for 8 nights. We also recite the special Hallel, the praise of Hashem for having saved us. And we also insert a paragraph into our Shemona Esrei, as well as into our Grace After Meals, our benching, the Al Hanisim paragraph, also in which we praise Hashem for the salvation that He brought to our forefathers in that day. And of course, we are bidden to play dreidel and to consume as many latkes and jelly donuts as we possibly can. Have a wonderful Hanukkah.